Welcome everyone. Welcome to channel Qtomation. In previous sessions, we have seen about frames and iframe handling. In today's session, we will see one example of nested iframes. So in previous session, if you remember, we have seen examples where there is a parent page. Inside the parent page, there are multiple iframes, and how to handle or interact with the web elements present inside those iframes that we have seen in our previous sessions. Now, in previous session we have seen where every iframe is independent of each other and they are inside the parent page. So to perform any action on the web element present inside the iframe, what we had to do is we have to switch the driver focus to iframe 1, then interact with the element, then again go back to parent page, then shift the focus of the web driver to iframe 2, interact with the element present inside the iframe 2, again go back to parent page, and then go back to iframe 3, interact with the element in iframe 3. So that is the sequence which we have followed in our previous examples, where the iframes were independent of each other. They are kind of separate from each other. But what exactly are nested iframes? So nested iframes are iframes within other iframe. So there would be a main parent page. Inside that there would be one iframe, and inside that there would be another iframe. That is called as a nested iframe. And to interact with the nested iframe using Selenium, we have to follow again specific sequence of switching between frames. So here the switching would be like this. So if you want to interact with the element present inside the iframe 1, so what we have to do is we have to first switch the WebDriver focus to iframe 1, then we can perform any action on any other element present inside the iframe 1. And if you want to perform the web element which is present inside the iframe 2, then here we don't need to go back again to main page. We can directly switch to iframe 2 from iframe 1. By using driver.switchTo method, we can switch from iframe 1 to iframe 2 directly. And then we can perform action on web element present inside the iframe 2. And once we perform any actions on the web element inside the iframe 2, and if you want to go back to iframe 1, we can use switch to parent frame method, and from iframe 2, if you want to go back to main page, we can directly use default content method. So default content method will take us to main page, whereas switch to parent method will take us to the parent iframe. Now we will see practically example of nested iframes. So before that, I will show you one website where we can see the nested iframes and how we are going to perform actions on the elements present inside that nested iframes. So I am just opening this website. Now on this website, if you see, there is one parent iframe. On this website, if you see, there is one parent iframe. Inside the parent iframe, there is a click here button, and there is iframe 2 as well, which is inside the iframe, which is inside the parent iframe. And in that iframe, there is a click here button. In both the iframes, there is a click here button. So what actions I want to perform is, I want to first click on the iframe 2 button. I want to click on this button, so this text will be displayed. After that, I want to click on parent iframe button, so that this message will be displayed. It will show you click the button from iframe 1. So remember the sequence. I want to first click on iframe 2 button, then go back to the parent iframe and click on that button. So these are the two actions I want to perform via Selenium script. Now see how we can do that. So I am just copying this URL and let's refresh the page. So now let's go back to PyCharm. Now let's see practically how we can do that. So I will create a new Python file. Let's create a new Python file. So I have created a new Python file, nested iframes demo.py. Now from the previous session, I am just going to copy the initial code and I am just pasting it here. So we are just importing WebDriver, options and service classes. We are creating options class object. This is the options class object in which we are passing add experimental option detach value as true, so that this value we will pass while creating the driver instance. We are also creating the service class object in which we are passing path of the Chrome driver.exe file, that is browser driver. So we are passing browser driver path in service class object as a executable path, and both of this object we are passing as a parameter while creating the driver instance. So first one we have done for keeping the browser open even after the script end, and service object contains the path to Chrome driver.exe file. After that I am going to simply open that web page which we want to open. So I am just putting the URL of the web page. So let's put the URL of the web page which contains the nested iframes. So it will open that web page. Let's execute this script and let's see whether that page is getting open or not. So it will launch the web browser. And it will open that page. Now let's inspect this web page to check out the iframes. So I am just right clicking on and using inspect. After that, let's see, I am just putting Ctrl F and iframe. I am just searching the iframe tag. So if you see, I am going to hover on this first iframe, that is the parent iframe. So this is the HTML code and this is the ID for the parent iframe. So we can identify by using ID of the parent iframe. So what is the action we want to perform is, we want to first click on the button which is present inside iframe 2. But before that, we have to first switch to parent iframe. So how to switch to parent iframe? So what I will do, I will simply use, after opening the web page, what we can do is we can also maximize the window first. So it will maximize the window. After maximizing the window, driver dot, I will use switch to dot frame, and we can pass name of the frame, we can pass ID, we can also use index, or we can also use iframe as a web element. But in this example, we already have ID present, so I will just pass that ID here. So let's pass that ID here. So what is the ID? If you see, iframe ID parent underscore iframe, this is the ID of that iframe, parent underscore iframe. So I will just use that ID. So it will switch the WebDriver focus to that parent iframe. So now we are here, but we don't want to click on that button initially. First we want to click on the button which is present inside iframe 2. So now what I want to do is, I want to switch the focus. So now iframe 2 is present inside the iframe 1. So we have to again use switch to command, in which we will pass some identifier of this second iframe which is inside the parent iframe. So let's hover on this second iframe, that is the child iframe we can say. If you see ID, So this child iframe is having ID as well as name. So ID is iframe 1. So I am just using that ID again. Let's go to the code. And what I will do, I will again use driver dot switch to dot frame, and we have to pass identifier or ID of that child iframe. So it will switch the WebDriver focus from parent frame to child frame. And now we can perform the action on this web element which is present inside the iframe 2. Now to perform that action, first we have to identify it. So we can check out, or we can write some XPath for that. So I will just show you. Yeah, so this is the code, this is the button, type equals to button, and ID, it is also having some ID. So I will use the ID. I'm just copying the ID and I will write the XPath for it, or we can directly use ID as a locator. So what I will do, I will write driver dot switch to, not switch to, driver dot find element. We have to now find that button by dot ID. I am using ID and I can directly pass that ID here. So it will find that button and it will click on that button. So I am just using dot click method. So it will find out the second iframe click here button, and then it will click on that. Now we have clicked on this button. So up to this point we have reached. Now the next action I want to perform is, I want to click on the button which is present inside the parent iframe. So how to go back to parent iframe? So we have one method. So I will just simply use, we have one method which is provided, that is driver dot switch to dot parent frame. If you use driver dot switch to default content, then it will go back to main page. It will go back to main page and not the parent page. But if you use driver dot switch to parent frame, it will go back to the parent frame of that specific iframe. So any nested iframe will have only one parent iframe. So it will always go to previous parent. So this will shift the WebDriver focus to parent iframe. And now we can perform the action on the web element which are present inside the parent iframe. So this is the button which is present inside the parent iframe. So I will just locate this button. If you see, ID is u_5_5. So I will use this ID for parent iframe click here button. So after switching to the parent frame, I will again use driver dot find element by dot, I can use ID, comma, and I will provide the value of that ID. And what we want to do is, we want to click on it. So I will use click method. So it will perform click action on that button. So what we can do is, now we can execute this file. So what it will do, it will open the web page. So this is the web page which will be opened. This page will get open first. After that, what will happen? After that, it will maximize the window. Then it will switch the focus to frame, that is parent_iframe. That means it will shift the focus of the WebDriver to this parent iframe first, because we cannot directly jump to nested iframe. We cannot directly jump to iframe 2 here. We have to first switch the focus to parent iframe. After that, there is another iframe inside that parent iframe. So we will again use driver dot switch to frame, and we have provided the ID of that child iframe. So it will switch the focus to iframe 1 here. So it will go into this inside inner iframe. And after switching the focus, we can locate this element and it will click on this click here button of iframe 2. That's why we have used ID of that button, and it will click on it. After clicking on that button, what it will do, now we want to go back to the parent page. So we will use driver dot switch to dot parent frame. So it will shift the focus to back to parent frame, and we can perform action on that button basically, which is present inside the parent frame, and it will click on it. And after that, if you want to go to main page, we can simply use driver.switch to default content. That will shift the focus to main page. So this is how the sequence of shifting to frames and back to parent frame and back to main page. So now let's execute the file and let's see how the script perform those actions. So I am just running that file. So it will launch the web browser, then it will open the website and maximize the window. And it will click on those buttons. If you see, first it will click iframe 2 button, and then it clicked on iframe 1 button, right? So this is how we can perform actions on nested iframes web element. So we have to remember, we have to shift the focus to parent iframe first, then we can perform action on parent iframe elements, then we have to switch focus to iframe 2, which is or we can shift the focus to child iframe, and we can perform actions on the child iframe web elements. And if you want to go back to main page directly, we can directly use switch to default content. That will shift the focus directly to main page. But if you want to go to parent iframe again, we can use switch to dot parent frame method. So this is all about nested iframes. So we have seen all the examples including iframe, frame and nested iframes. So kindly subscribe to my channel and share to your friends